Tensions had already been simmering under the surface when it happened. In a room thick with political tension and eyes watching every move, something completely unexpected jolted the room into chaos. Not a debate, not a policy disagreement, but a sip of water. When Representative Jasmine Crockett reached out and took a sip from a water bottle that happened to belong to Governor Kristi Noem, all hell broke loose. Noem's furious outburst shocked the chamber, but what followed was something no one could have predicted. Crockett didn't flinch. Her response wasn't loud. It wasn't frantic. It was measured, deliberate, and absolutely stunning. What looked like a petty clash over a bottle became a viral political moment that exposed more than anyone intended. As the session dragged into its fourth hour, the discussions surrounding key spending bills and infrastructure allocations were already exhausting most participants. Crockett, as usual, Saturday composed, scribbling notes and reviewing amendments, her bottle sitting empty after the first couple of hours. It was hot. The air conditioning had begun to falter under the weight of a packed room and endless rhetoric. A cluster of water bottles Saturday near the shared middle space of the table and labeled generic, like they always were in these meetings. Without thinking, Crockett reached forward and took a sip from the nearest bottle, refocusing immediately on the papers before her. It was a moment so mundane, it should have been invisible. But suddenly, Kristi Noem sprang from her seat, as if something personal had been violated. Her voice rang out like a siren in the room. "Did you just sip my water?" The tone was incredulous, laced with offense that seemed too intense for the situation. Every eye turned, startled, as Noem advanced toward Crockett, her finger pointing sharply, jaw clenched tight. "That bottle was mine. You don't just take someone else's water. Who does that?" Crockett paused, blinking once, setting the bottle back down with deliberate calm. Her lips parted slightly as she processed what had just happened. This wasn't confusion, it was measured restraint. She was trying to calculate how to address what was rapidly spiraling into a full-blown public embarrassment. Others in the room watched with bated breath. Tension now wasn't just palpable, it was thick enough to slice with a knife. Some aides looked down at their notepads. Others shifted awkwardly in their seats. Even the reporters and media representatives stationed outside the room sensed the seismic shift unfolding inside. "Governor Noem," Crockett began, voice soft but unwavering, "I reached for the closest water bottle on the table. I had no idea it belonged to you. Had I known, I wouldn't have touched it." She paused, then added, "But if this is the line we draw between collaboration and confrontation, then maybe we need to ask ourselves what it is we're really here to do." That was the first pin drop moment. Crockett had embraced her voice, but her message cut deep. She wasn't just responding to a petty accusation, she was addressing a symptom of something bigger. "No, not prepared for such poise. Tried again to regain control. It's a matter of personal space. You can't just touch what doesn't belong to you," she insisted. "That's basic respect." Her voice cracked slightly, not from emotion, but from the sheer force of her tone. She was loud, animated, and visibly shaken by an action so benign it might have slipped past any other politician without comment. But Crockett didn't meet her fury with fury. She leaned forward instead, her elbows resting lightly on the desk, and said clearly, "If respect is what you demand, it has to be mutual. And respect doesn't mean exploding over a sip of water, it means assuming dignity before disrespect." The effect of her words was immediate and piercing. Silence spread like wildfire across the room. A few people nodded slowly. One aide was caught visibly blinking back tears, perhaps overwhelmed not by the confrontation, but by the implications. In a nation where marginalized voices are often shushed, questioned, and challenged for merely taking up space, a moment like this carried gravity. For a black woman in power to be chastised publicly over a gesture as minor as sipping water, then respond with measured dignity, was more than just remarkable. It was history replaying in real time, with all its uncomfortable echoes and symbolic undertones. The room's atmosphere shifted perceptibly. Those who had been avoiding eye contact now found themselves drawn to Crockett's composed demeanor. Her posture remained steady, her gaze direct but not confrontational. She embodied something rare in modern politics, the ability to stand firm without stooping to aggression, to command respect without demanding it. The contrast between her collected response and Noem's explosive reaction became starker with each passing second. Outside, social media exploded as news broke. Leaked clips from journalists and cell phone videos went viral in minutes. Twitter threads dissected every frame, every word. Users drew comparisons to deeper structural inequalities. Kristi Noem lost it over a bottle. One tweet read, "But the real messages Black women still aren't allowed to be human in rooms built to silence them. Another added, Crockett didn't sip water. She drank Noam's power and made her choke on it. Political analysts quickly jumped into the fray, examining the incident from every angle. Some pointed out how such moments, though seemingly trivial, often reveal deeper fault lines in American politics. Others focused on the stark difference in leadership styles and reactive and emotional. The other measured and strategic. The commentary wasn't just about water anymore. It was about power dynamics, racial undertones, and the unwritten rules of political engagement. The viral moment only amplified as Crockett was invited to morning shows and political panels in the days that followed. She remained graceful, declining to escalate or exploit the incident for personal gain. It was a misunderstanding, she told one host, but it's also a reminder. We're all tired, we're all under pressure, but how we respond when things go off script, that's when character shows. During these appearances, Crockett consistently steered conversations away from personal attacks and toward substantive issues. When pressed about Noam's reaction, she would acknowledge the moment but quickly pivot to discussing the actual policy matters they had been debating that day. This approach only enhanced her reputation for grace under pressure and commitment to meaningful dialogue over political theater. Kristi Noem, on the other hand, faced a mixed bag of reactions. Some of her staunch supporters tried to defend her response, claiming it was about basic hygiene or professional boundaries. But the broader public wasn't buying it. Late-night comedians ridiculed the disproportionate rage. Memes depicted Noam guarding her bottle like a national treasure, while others praised Crockett for winning a fight she didn't even start. The incident began to take on a life of its own in popular culture. Editorial cartoonists had a field day, creating illustrations that captured the absurdity of the moment while highlighting its deeper significance. One particularly striking cartoon showed the sides of a split screen. On one side, Noam towering over a water bottle, surrounded by caution tape and security guards. On the other, Crockett calmly offering cups of water to a diverse group of people. The deeper impact, however, was on the psyche of the political space itself. That moment exposed how much of politics is performative, reactive, and built on ego rather than substance. Noam's reaction was rooted not just in possessiveness, but in an unwillingness to let the moment pass without drama. It exposed how easily decorum can give way to emotional volatility, especially when identity politics are at play. Crockett, without planning to, revealed this imbalance. She didn't need to shout. Her truth echoed all the louder for it. Political consultants began using the incident as a case study in crisis management and public perception. They analyzed how Crockett's response had transformed what could have been an embarrassing moment into a powerful statement about leadership and dignity. Some even incorporated the clip into their training materials, using it to demonstrate the importance of maintaining composure under pressure. There was also the cultural resonance. Water, the most basic human need, had become a flashpoint for a country grappling with water crises in Flint, Jackson, and other historically underserved areas. The symbolism hit hard. It wasn't just a Bob Light was about who gets to feel entitled, who's allowed access, and how those dynamics still ripple across even the most seemingly civilized settings. The incident sparked deeper conversations about access to resources and the often overlooked disparities in American society. Community organizers and activists pointed out how something as simple as water could become a symbol of larger systemic issues. They drew parallels between Noam's possessive reaction and broader patterns of resource hoarding and inequality in American society. In private circles, it was reported that some of Noam's own allies felt she had overreached. She let emotion override her judgment. One unnamed source said, "And when you lose composure in front of someone as sharp as Crockett, you're handing them the win without even realizing it." Crockett never claimed victory. She simply moved on. But the contrast in responses told the entire story. One woman demanded respect with outrage. The other commanded it with grace. The aftermath of the incident continued to reverberate through political circles. Staff members who had witnessed the exchange began sharing their perspectives, albeit anonymously. Many described how the moment had changed their view of both politicians. One noted how Crockett's handling of the situation had inspired younger staffers, particularly women of color, who often felt pressured to remain silent in similar situations. Even weeks later, the incident remains one of the most talked about moments in Capitol Hill's recent memory, not because of scandal, corruption, or legislation, but because of how the women reacted to something as trivial as water. and what that revealed about the bigger picture of power, respect, and representation. Crockett's voice now carries more weight. In committee hearings, people listen more closely, not because she sipped from a bottle, but because she reminded everyone in that moment that true leadership is shown not when things are going smoothly, but when chaos hits and you choose calm. The incident began to influence political discourse in unexpected ways. During subsequent legislative sessions, observers noted a subtle shift in how disagreements were handled. There seemed to be a greater awareness of tone and reaction, with some politicians consciously moderating their responses during heated moments. The water bottle incident, as it came to be known, had become a shorthand for maintaining composure in the face of provocation. Parents shared the clip with their daughters. Teachers played it in civics classes. Community leaders referenced it in town hall discussions. It became a cultural momentum where a quiet truth outshone a loud tantrum, and the public took notice. Crockett may not have asked for that spotlight, but when it came, she stood in it with dignity, proving once again that presence and poise can sometimes speak louder than power. Educational institutions began incorporating the incident into their curriculum, particularly in courses dealing with political science, public speaking, and conflict resolution. Students analyzed the power dynamics at play, the role of nonverbal communication, and the importance of maintaining professional composure in high-stress situations. The incident provided a real-world example of how leadership styles can impact public perception and political effectiveness. In the end, known furious defense of her water bottle will likely fade into obscurity, remembered only as a punchline or a moment of unnecessary pettiness. But Crockett's reply, one that silenced the room and lit up a national live longer, not just as a viral clip, but as a lesson in leadership, a study in control, a masterclass in how to shut down disrespect without ever raising your voice. The incident's impact extended beyond political spheres into corporate America, where diversity and inclusion trainers began using it as an example of how microaggressions can manifest in professional settings and how to respond effectively. Leadership consultants pointed to Crockett's response as a model of emotional intelligence and strategic communication under pressure. As time passed, the incident became less about the specific individuals involved and more about the broader lessons it taught. It sparked discussions about dignity in public service, the power of measured responses, and the ongoing challenge of navigating racial and gender dynamics in professional spaces. Crockett's handling of the situation became a blueprint for maintaining grace under pressure while standing firm in one's convictions. And for millions watching across America, that lesson won't be forgotten anytime soon. The water bottle incident, in its seemingly simple nature, had managed to capture something profound about power, privilege, and the choice between reaction and response. It reminded everyone that sometimes the most powerful statements are made not through grand gestures or loud proclamations, but through quiet dignity and unwavering composure. If you were inspired, shocked, or moved by this incredible moment that redefined the power of composure in politics, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more powerful political showdowns and unscripted truth, and ring the bell icon so you never miss what's coming next. We're bringing the raw moments that matter unfiltered and unflinching. Stay tuned. The incident continues to resonate because it speaks to universal experiences of being underestimated, disrespected, or challenged in professional settings. It shows how a moment of potential conflict can be transformed into an opportunity for growth and understanding. Most importantly, it demonstrates that true power often lies not in the ability to dominate or intimidate, but in the capacity to maintain dignity and purpose in the face of provocation.